So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our last webinar for the 24-25 financial year. And I know it's absolutely gorgeous out, so I really appreciate everyone taking 2 hours out of their day to hang out with us. So today's webinar is called Demystifying Retirement, a Roadmap to a Fulfilling Next Chapter. So before we get into it, I just have to do a few housekeeping things. So the first thing is I would like to thank the funder, the Department of Canadian Heritage, for allowing us to produce this webinar. And Brendan's already done the housekeeping when it comes to the IT. So just so everyone is kind of in the loop, we're experimenting a little bit with today's webinar. So we're going to make it a little bit interactive. You should have all have received the agenda and a workbook for today's webinar. So I hope you have your workbook next to you because you're going to need that in a few minutes. And the flow for the webinar is going to be kind of as follows. I'm going to introduce Ren and Stéphane, and they're going to then introduce themselves and jump straight into the presentation. And we've also left about 15 minutes at the end, so from say about 1:45 for a Q&A. We'll see how we go, but that's kind of the flow for today. So without further ado, Stéphane and Ren, I'll let yourselves introduce yourselves and your company. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So thank you, Katya. And yes, we're doing things a little differently today, so go for it. We're going to ask you to put things in chat. We are going to actually make you work. That's what the workbook is all about. We're going to ask you questions and hope to get some feedback from you and some answers from you. So this is how we want to start to do this webinar. I consider myself a retiree who works. That's what I have found, because it seems there's a lot of confusion about sometimes when people ask me what I am, I'm actually like, am I retired? Am I working? Am I half? I'm a retiree who works. It's as simple as that. And this is Act 2 for me. I spent a lot of time, almost 30 years in the corporate world. Today, I facilitate training. I create content. With Stéphane, I am self-employed. So I work for various companies to facilitate training such as leadership, sales, well-being, and of course now with Senior Perspectives. Stéphane and I started Senior Perspectives because we saw a really important need for people to prepare psychologically for retirement. It's one of these things that we don't know we're going to need until we need it. So this is our mission and our vision for Senior Perspectives. And I'm going to let Stéphane introduce himself.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Stéphane Grenier, and I've been an ICF certified career and retirement coach for just over a decade now. And but for me, coaching has always been part of my life, part of my DNA, I would say, from a very young age and all throughout my career. But in the last 10 years, I really wanted to dedicate my professional life to assist and accompany people to connect to their true identity while making all the necessary changes to ensure that they're fully ready to embark in the next new chapter of their life, whether it's retirement or any chapter in their lives. And what I've noticed, throughout my practice and even personally, how essential it is to be supported at any transitional phases of life, and especially not to do this alone. So this is why Ren and I are here today. We're here to support you in this journey. Whether you're thinking about it, you're already in retirement, there's no better time than right now to look at certain things. And that's what we're going to do today with you. We're going to do some exercises together, like Ren was saying. Well, I'm really grateful to be here today. I see this is a beautiful group, and we're gonna have fun doing that as well. And please don't hesitate to ask any question at any time. Like we were saying, just raise your hand, or or just we'll ask you questions as well. So we'll be interactive. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to do the exercises with you a little bit later on.
Great. Thank you, Stefan. So I'm going to share my screen the way Brendan just showed me, which was brilliant. Give me a moment. And this. Nope. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Well. Okay, hold on. Am I sharing?
Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, it took a while, but I got it. So demystifying retirement, this is what we have called this session. And I'll tell you why. I'm actually going to give you a quote. I told you I worked for many years in the corporate world. And one of the most brilliant women I met there, she had top job. When she retired, after a few months of retirement, she said to me, and I quote, Reine, make no mistake about it. Once you retire, you become a nobody. I know she didn't mean a nobody for herself, but she meant a nobody for the company you worked for, many people you met in the world, a nobody in society. So maybe it's a little tough to hear, but I thought, yeah, I get it. I know why you're saying that, because sometimes in society, we know ageism exists. Guys, one of our friends tried to go to a rescue place to get a dog, and they kept not wanting to give her a young dog. Guess why? Because she was close to 70, and they thought, hey, this dog, this puppy might outlive you. It's insane sometimes, not all the time. But we want to demystify all this. So we're counting on you. This is how we spread our message to say, this is not who you are as retirees. So we have concocted for you today an agenda in 4 steps. We're going to talk about the phases of retirement, about change and resilience, because it's a big change to get into retirement, the 4 pillars of well-being, and finally the wheel of balance, which will put you into action mode as well. Just before I start with the phases of retirement, I'd love you to start using chat right away. If you want to put in chat either how many years you've been retired or how many years until retirement, just tell us that. I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Ooh, less than 1 year. All excited for you, Jen, here. 10 years, new career started after 10 years. See, isn't that fantastic? 5, 6 years until retirement. Still working, not sure about retirement. 5 years forced into it. I was too, after being on medical leave. 7 years working part-time, 6 years, less than a year. So we have a great, still working, hoping to work as long as possible. Yeah, I love that, Maureen. Thank you. I also say that I want to die with a microphone in my hand on stage. Okay, it's going to traumatize everybody in the conference, but that's my plan. Great. I love this. All right. So you're already demystifying all the things we hear about retirees and how, why don't we give our place to somebody else? Why don't we leave our homes and go into a retirement home? Forget all that. 4 phases of retirement. Some of you are in that phase, and that phase is I don't know what's going to happen in retirement. I am a pre-retiree. So pre-retirement is a phase of anticipation. It's a phase where people have thought about, what am I going to do when I retire? That phase starts as soon as the seed is planted in your head, because we don't have a choice. We're going to start and continue thinking about it. For some, it's a couple of years before retirement. For some, it's 5, even 15 years. I have a niece who's 34, and she's already thinking about, how she's going to retire at age 55 and what she's going to do. So this is a stage for many, a stage of excitement and anticipation. However, for some, it could be a time of worry, doubt, even anxiety, especially a year or two before retirement. And that's when you might have prepared financially, or maybe not, and you might not have prepared psychologically, because we know that people actually don't think about that whole psychological preparation for retirement, right? For various reasons that we're going to see. The second phase. Second phase. This is the liberation phase, the honeymoon phase. Jen, within a year, I'd say maybe you're in the honeymoon phase. That honeymoon phase feels like a vacation. Oops. Okay. It feels like a vacation. You're busy with exciting projects, maybe some hobbies you didn't have a chance to do. You're traveling, you're starting a new business, who knows? And you're reconnecting with friends, with family. Sometimes you might even be reconnecting with a partner, a spouse, because we know what work life does to us. It just doesn't give us a lot of time to continue all these strong bonds and so on. So liberation from the alarm clock, liberation from a boss, liberation from, 12-hour work days. So some people call it the honeymoon phase as well. Phase number 3, you could see by his face where I'm getting at. Phase number 3 is what Stefan and I created as a disillusion and redirection phase. We've put these two in there because it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all, oh my God, where am I going with this? However, the disillusionment phase is one that is considered the most challenging stage. This is the one that happens after people have gone through a list of to-do, of travel, of fun, of reconnection, of hobbies, and now we're thinking, now what? So the now what comes with, so who am I now? If I was a doctor, if I was an accountant, if I was a manager, if I was, I don't know, a bus driver, well, who am I now, right? What is my identity? Sometimes even loneliness sets in, anxiety, boredom. I feel useless. The thing with that stage is, first of all, it can last between 5 and 15 years after retirement. That is a long time to feel disillusioned and down. And they say that the research says that 33% of retirees will feel some kind of stress or even depression. And that would happen in that phase. We added redirection here. Redirection involves creating ourselves a new retirement identity. I am someone, I just don't work. I'm just not linked with the work that I have. So it takes time, it takes effort to accomplish this. But once we've built that identity, we go back to gaining a sense of closure from our work life, and we can move on to enjoy retirement as it is meant to be enjoyed, which simply means as you have meant to enjoy retirement. So to avoid falling into that depression and stress and maybe a little bit of a rut, it's very crucial to find something that's going to give us a sense of meaningful purpose and integrating it into our daily lives. Phase 4. It's the final stage, and it's settling. So we're settled is when we are finally comfortable with the lifestyle we chose in retirement. We do things that make us feel fulfilled, that are engaging to us. We're into activities that match our values, our needs, our desires. At that stage, let's not forget that 15, 20 years into retirement, we do get older. That's going to happen. Health condition is a big consideration. And what we work on doing is maintaining our health so we can maintain our independence as long as possible. Now, I'm looking at all these 4, and please know that, of course, there are people who just go, most people will go through some of these stages at different degrees. Some people might go from the day I retire to I'm settled in a great life. I have lots of things going on for me. Some people will go maybe from liberation to settling. Maybe some people will be are settled, and then whoop, all of a sudden, there's a bit of a curve here that I need something else. I'm not sure. Okay. So, but this is in general. So I want to ask you, please raise your hand or put in chat, because I'd like to hear from you. I spoke way too much already. Yeah, Jen, many people do not report depression. Sometimes it's almost like we feel ashamed, of reporting it, or we think, what do I have to complain about? I'm retired, right? So again, we need to put this out in the open. So who knows somebody in one of these phases, or have you figured out, if you look at these, what phase you might be into? Who wants to tell us what phase you think you might be into? You can just come off mute if you want to talk, or raise your hand.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the raise your hand, but if it's okay, maybe I can just go ahead and speak.
Please.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
so my mother is going to be 79, like at the end of the month, and she's still working. She's actually working full time as a travel agent. She does a lot of like group trips. And she keeps on telling me, well, Zina, you can't, like if you're planning on retiring, like just find yourself a part-time job, because that's when you have to keep your brain active. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that with everybody, because my dad, on the other hand, my dad has been retired, but not fully, because he still has, like, he manages block apartments. He has block apartments to his name, and so he still manages that. But he is, how old is he? He's 80. And he's planning, like, now this is the time that he's been telling me, well, he's very, very tired now. And he just wants to, like, not have the headaches of managing block apartments anymore.
Yeah. 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 These choices we make are the most fantastic thing we can do for ourselves, as long as we know where we're going, right? So the reflection has to happen. Do I want to continue working full-time, part-time, full-time maybe? Do I want to volunteer? Do I want to give up a part of this that now is stressful? It's not what I want anymore. Fantastic. Thank you. I'm getting a lot of answers here, which is great. A few in pre-retirement, liberation for Jen. Ruth, you say you lived them all. So you're one who kind of followed this. Ruth, if I can ask you to come off mute for a moment.
Well, I guess I'm the old girl on the block, and I've always been very involved in community and working with multiple people in nonprofit different organizations. And they became sort of my extended life. And then at 70, I decided, well, it's time to retire, and I had all these marvelous plans. And I think your self-worth, sense of belonging, values, suddenly you get hit up the side of the head. I mean, the first 6 months, year, it's great because you have the withdrawal, and I think that's important. But then after that, the honeymoon is over. What do I do with myself? So I got involved as a volunteer predominantly on multiple boards with multiple organizations, still am. And I still do contract work for different organizations as it comes along. Physically, because I'm older now, the physical aspect has deteriorated to some degree, but I'm insisting on keeping the mental part of my brain still functioning. And I love the social contact, the sense that you still have some value and you can still contribute, and the people contact. That's my medicine. And I'm busier probably now. You know, some of my contracts, I'm doing 10, 12 hours a day, just as much as I did for being an executive director with 38 staff.
Wow.
I enjoy it. I get to travel occasionally, which I never did. We had 5 kids, didn't have a lot of money. So it has its advantages, but during COVID was a very tough situation. I found that you lost a lot of your contact. Thank goodness for Zoom technology. But physically, you weren't going out, you were shut in.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to even, like I do a lot with seniors, and to get them to feel, there's a lot that do feel comfortable and will go anywhere. But
Right.
there's still a good percentage of them that are stuck in, isolated, anxious, worried about finances, worried about housing, worrying about the world events.
That's right. Yeah.
So you got to keep yourself busy, I think.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ruth. This is great testimony about what we can expect. And again, to me, it's all a matter of the choices we make, right? So let's talk about this. This is all also, and I see that some people are into disillusion phase, some are all over the place from one day to the other, and that's fine. Just know that it's normal. It's a normal thing to go through. Why? Because retirement is one of the biggest transitions of life, and transitions are tough. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about change and transition. Change and transition, I'm giving you here all research that was done by the person who's known as the authority on change and transition. His name is William Bridges. And if you do want to research him, I'm going to put his name in the chat. So William Bridges passed away not so long ago. Here's what he told us. Change, or definition of change, is that something ends, something begins, okay? So change, he said, is an event. It's a physical event. It's episodic. It's outside of us. It happens, for example, the day you retire. You pick up your box of personal things from the office and come home. That's the change. Transition, on the other hand, is defined by Bridges as a gradual psychological reorientation. And it happens inside of us as we adapt to that actual change. So transition starts the moment I start thinking of retirement. What am I going to do? Where am I going to live? How am I going to spend my time? What kind of routine is it going to be? What do I dream of? And so on. Transition also continues well beyond the change. So you've come home with that box of goodies from the office, and transition continues. It's very rare that you're just settled into it from one day to the other. Just think if you move from one house to the other, for example. Change happens when the movers get to your old house, pack everything up, dump it in the new house. Hopefully don't dump it. They're careful. Transition starts when I'm thinking of moving, we're discussing it, we're going to go to the bank, figure out what kind of mortgage I can have, what's the interest rates, what's the neighborhood I'm going to live in. Transition also continues once you get into a new house. How am I going to what am I going to do with this kitchen? Didn't remember it was so ugly. Where are the parks around here, etc. So that's the big difference between change and transition. So what he did is give us the phases of transition. I'm going to read the words that are in this curve of William Bridges, and tell me what that reminds you of.
Kind of like a grieving process.
Yeah, exactly. So he expanded a little bit on the stages of mourning and grief, and he made with us the curve of transition. And so what he said is he's putting it in 3 phases. He said, in a transition, there are endings, there is a neutral zone, and there are new beginnings. Okay, so endings. It's funny that a transition, something that begins, actually starts with an end. So that's the paradox of the transition. This first phase, it just comes with, I'm losing something, or I've lost something. Again, think of mourning and grief. I've lost someone, I've lost something. And I'm trying to learn, how do I manage these losses, right? What the things that I leave behind, what will I do once I've left them behind? So my question to you is, what do you stand to lose when you retire? Or what have you lost when you did retire? So again, put that in chat, or you can raise your hand and tell us. Yeah, Richard, go ahead.
One of the things that you can lose are your social networks when you retire.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how everybody loved you while you work, and all of a sudden they're all too busy for you, right? Sometimes that's what happens. Thank you, Richard. Anyone else? Ruth, you say for some, it could be their conception of self-worth. Yeah, absolutely. You told us that, and it's very true. Financial security, your identity, some friends, a routine. Yeah, do not underestimate the power of a routine. What else do you stand to lose when you retire? Part of something larger than yourself. Ah, I'd like you to tell me a little more about that. Maureen, that's you, right? No, it's not you who wrote that? Oh, it's you who's, I don't know your name then.
Yeah, my name is Lori.
Lori, thank you.
Yes.
Tell me a little more about that. Part of something larger than yourself. What do you mean?
Well, I think in the work that I do, it gives me a lot of a great sense of purpose. And I know that I make a difference to other people. And and so I haven't retired yet, but one of my worries perhaps is that that I will lose that that sense of purpose, that sense of being part of something, contributing in a meaningful way that makes a difference to other people.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
It happens a lot, Lori. I'm not sugarcoating any of this. Yes, we lose all these things that you've said. And that's why we've put disillusion and redirection together. Because you are who you are. You're not losing your skills, your competencies, your kindness, your heart, your soul, everything you've put into helping others, contributing, making a difference. None of that is lost. Just have maybe to find it differently. So thank you so much for that. The second phase of transition is called the neutral zone. Now, I have to tell you, not too sure why William Bridges calls it the neutral zone, because in fact, the way he describes it, it's total chaos and hope. So this is the second phase. It actually comes after letting go. All right. We're kind of in between. We look back at the old and we look back at what we've lost. We might have some regrets. We might think, oh, maybe I should have stayed at work and so on. And then we look forward and it's the total unknown. And that's what where chaos comes. It's the time in between the old reality, my sense of identity and purpose, and the new one that I don't know yet what it's all about. So what we do is then our human mind, and that has been scientifically proven, we are made to have that hope. We are not made to stay in that curve of anger, depression, and stress, because in chaos is when our brain is the most creative. So think about it. If we were meant to just say, oh, I'm losing this, we would never have invented the fire, the wheel, the toaster, the telephone. The human race would have just extinguished. But we are made to come out of this into new beginnings, to say, okay, there's something ahead. I have to create this. I am becoming creative. And then come new beginnings. So new beginnings is the new understandings of my new values and attitudes. They're not necessarily new values, maybe renewed values. Some of our values and attitudes we left somewhere in our work life. So beginnings are a new energy that get us into a new direction. And that's when we have things to gain. So I'm asking you in chat, what do you have to gain in retirement? And those of you already retired, what have you gained? If you're not very chatty in chat, you can always talk to us. Independence, freedom to choose what I want to do, freedom to make my own choices, hopefully more time. Yeah. Well, Ruth says she's never been so busy. So, hey, it depends how much time we want to put into things. Exciting project. Connections I've never had time to do before. Absolutely. So there's huge things to gain, but the only reason we're putting this there is just to understand that it's okay when we feel stressed, torn, a little bit depressed. It's okay. We need to live those emotions of loss. And that's why that curve goes back up. It's thanks of us letting go of the losses that we can move forward. Peace of mind, joy when I see snowstorms, don't have to go out, getting in good shape, fabulous things. So how do we manage? We said we need to manage this transition. We manage with resilience. Resilience has been called the most important psychological resource that we have. So the psychological definition of resilience is our ability to recover from illness, depression, adversity, or the like. Buoyancy. If I'm not saying it correctly, correct me. It's the worst word for me, buoyancy. So that's what resilience is all about. I want you to think of somebody you say is resilient. It could be yourself. So somebody please share off mute, somebody you think is resilient. Richard.
I think Ruth Peltier is very resilient, and I've known Ruth for years.
Ruth Peltier is very resilient. Richard, why do you say that? What does Ruth say? What does Ruth do that make you say she's resilient?
Ruth is a doer. She gets things done. She maintains her networks of contacts, and she's always good company.
Wonderful. Yay, Ruth. Wonderful. So we're all resilient, by the way, all of us, human beings. When I asked that question, and I'm so happy, Richard, you chose Ruth, because when I ask that question, oftentimes I get Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, I get these people. And so we have a feeling that these great accomplishments, because people are resilient and they've gone through, they recovered from very difficult times, we think it's just a gift for a few. No. It's all of us. But here's what resilient people do. It is shown that they figure that change is the norm. Okay, not stability being the norm. They figure that no matter what, even if it's at the micro level, I have some control over the outcome of my life, no matter what my age is. And they know, and they behave in a way that they engage in their life, but also in the world around them. Something bigger than ourselves, someone said earlier, right? So these are resilient people. And the beautiful thing, they for them, change is just a challenge. They do control and commitment. I love the 3 C's. And I lost my train of thought. So that's okay. Let me continue. How do I grow my resilience? I said everybody has it. And believe it or not, like everything, like playing soccer, like, I don't know, Sudoku, it takes practice. We can all practice growing our resilience. I like things that come in 3. So here is how we do it: rest, reflect, and reframe. Let's talk about rest. When you have an injury, physical injury, you break bone, you have a really bad cold, you slip on the ice and hurt your ankle. How do you recover? Anyone like to share, or again, put it in chat so I can get many answers? Elizabeth May is resilient, yeah. Oh my God, Ruth, look at this. Lovely testimonies. So how do you recover from an injury when you're hurt, when you're sick? Yeah, rest and recharge. Nourish yourself. Put your feet up. Support and recovery from others. Yeah, you probably had to do some physio as well, Lorraine, right? Getting enough rest and sleep. Exactly. So consider that change and transition, one of those major transition like retirement, change and transition are in fact a psychological injury. Some can, for some, it can even be a trauma. Trauma has different definitions for different people, right? So the first order of the day is rest. Not only rest your body, because that's as important for growing resilience, but also rest your mind. Find a little bit of peace. I need to put my feet up, maybe have a cup of tea, listen to Mozart, whatever it may be. So rest your mind, because our minds have a tendency of just ruminating and running and running and running all the time. That hamster, people call it the hamster, right? So I want you to think of an event, maybe an event that you regret, something that you might still think about. Doesn't have to do with retirement. Still think about something you're ruminating about constantly, a mistake you've done and you can't get past that mistake. Maybe you had a fight with a friend or a partner. Just think of that event. I'm not going to ask you to share. Okay? So when we ruminate, when we have those events, is when we keep thinking about the event and our experiences in our heads continue to be negative. And that doesn't help resiliency. It doesn't help us grow our resiliency at all. This rumination is when we end up shooting all over ourselves, right? I should have done this. I should have said that. I should not have said that. So we need to rest our mind, find peace with it, and let go. One of the best ways to do that is have compassion for ourselves. After rest comes reflection. So when you rest, you have rebuilt the energy that has been depleted from you, from your mind, from your body. Reflecting is the way that you're going to channel that energy in ways that inspire and stimulate us. A big question that retirees ask, when they're mostly in the disillusion phase, I guess, is, why am I waking up in the morning? What's my purpose now? What do I have ahead of me? So I do ask you to share that. So if you want to share in chat why you wake up in the morning, I'd love to hear it. That's a reflection that's important to do so we can start moving forward and grab on these things. And while you write, I want to tell you, my brother-in-law passed away about 2.5 years ago, a little less than that. They had been together for 45 years. It was really difficult on my sister. I know many of you have, probably all of us have had these types of losses. But a few months, and she has amazing kids that just surrounded her until now. I asked her that question a few months after he passed away, and I said, Roxanne, what's the reason you wake up in the morning? And she said something that broke my heart. She said, you know what? I have no idea. She was in that stage. That's all it was. It wasn't something that I feared would be forever. She's never gonna get out of it. It is normal. But our best way is to look for reasons to wake up in the morning, looking forward to the activities of the day. The dog, hey, no choice here, gets you out of bed. I want to go outside, or I want to go for a walk, to be there for family, travel, and do nothing. I love that. Sometimes I love doing nothing. Yeah. A question you've been asking yourself. It's to find my pursuit of happiness for me and others. Wow, you want to contribute, you want to give, you want to make a difference. It's a fantastic reason. Scheduled online exercise classes and webinar, that's a great way. Sometimes I said it takes effort, eh? Sometimes it takes a good kick in the to get us out of bed and do things and do it. Forward to a cup of coffee, lovely. So that reflection here is about getting that energy and finding something to wake up for. And I'm just going to throw some questions at you. You can write them down. I'm not going to ask you to answer now, but it might help you into that reflection. For example, ask yourself, what have I always wanted to do that I keep putting off? For me, it's writing a children's book. Okay. What am I enthusiastic about? What do I have fun doing? Just ask yourself these questions. What have I always wanted to learn? A PhD, never got it done. Never too late. Gina, I'm in the master's, hopeful master's, and I'm working on it. Think about, who do I enjoy sharing experiences with? Here's someone said connections. Yeah, that you're very right. So this is important. And finally, reframing. So have you ever looked at your photos, your frames on the walls in your house and thought, I'm going to change frame. This one doesn't really fit this picture. If you've ever done that, you know that only by reframing, all of a sudden, the picture looks almost different. It gives us a different look, right? Zina, you're saying yes. So reframing is really about, when we talk psychologically, is about looking at things a different way. So we can stop the ruminating, stop the regrets, stop this negative self-talk that neuroscience has taught us is constant in the human brain. We are more prone to negative self-talk, to negative thoughts, than to positive ones. But what neuroscience has also told us and has realized is that neurons can be redirected to reconnect, to break old thoughts, negative thoughts, and create new positive ones. That's the reframing, to redirect our thoughts, from negative to positive. And in order to do that, one of the best ways to rewire our brain, is to think of better experiences. I want you to consider, when you think of events that you're ruminating over and over again, I want you to think of, what's the evidence that this has ended the world? The earth has stopped turning. This person has never talked to me again. I'm not over it after 20 years. What is the evidence for that negative thought versus the evidence for the positive thought? I am kind. I contribute. I want to help others. I am competent. I am talented. I have skills. That's the practice to reframe our thought. Well, thank you for all these wonderful, glass half full. Thank you for all the wonderful answers. And while resilience, it helps us recover from loss, it helps us recover from trauma, but it does much more than that. Resilience, as we practice this, it fosters well-being, right? That underlying sense of happiness, of love, of peace. That's all any human being looks for, right? When we internalize those experiences of well-being, it builds inner strength. In turn, it makes us more resilient, right? So it is a circle, but it's an upward circle between resilience and well-being. So I'm going to let Stéphane take over and take you through the pillars of well-being.
Great. Yes, so thank you, Ryan. So yeah, so many of you already have spoken about some of the pillars. Some people talk about social connections. I think it was Ruth that talked about that. There was Richard as well. But we're going to be introducing them, in a different light today. And we've carefully chosen these four because we found that they create a very positive impact on our well-being once we use these four pillars moving forward. And they're pretty powerful, actually, and they have a lasting influence on us, whatever stage in life we are. So social connection is the one that, so far people have mentioned. I've mentioned quite a bit. It's the number one thing that retirees say they miss the most once they hit retirement, once they get to retirement. And apparently we lose up to 50% of our connections once we get into retirement. So that's a lot of connections, 50%. So it's really important to start, for the ones that are thinking about retirement, start planting those seeds with the people that you want to continue living this journey with once you hit your retirement. Also, research has shown that both the strength of our social connections and the satisfaction that we find in our relationship play a very crucial role in our mental and physical health. There was a review done on about 148 studies on over 300,000 people, participants of these programs, indicated that people with stronger social relationships had 50% increased likelihood of longevity. Well, I'm going to go for that because I want to live long. And then Ren also talked about people falling into depression, right? So it's a lot of times depression comes with isolation, right? Once we isolate from, we've seen it in, throughout the pandemic, how so many people isolated themselves. And, 1 in 3 people will fall into a depression in retirement at one point in their retirement. So that's quite high. That's quite a lot of people. Secondly, we have physical well-being. Well, we all know that physical well-being, physical activity reduces stress, and it's good because it releases, some chemicals to our brain and brings the happy hormones that we call, right? So also they have, the numbers show that active people have 30 to 35% less risk of dying from hypertension, diabetes type 2, heart disease, stroke, and even cancer than people that are inactive. So that's quite high. That's quite a high number to stay active. There's a research, and I think that's a funny research, that was done in the 70s, quite a few years ago. And they said that strength, endurance, and flexibility declined dramatically after the age of 55. Well, I'm going to be 55 this year, so I'm not going to go for that one. So it's a myth. It's not true. So they've done other research, thank God, since then. Right? And they've done one in the 90s where it showed that people in their 70s and 80s can still improve their physical fitness. And even if they've never exercised before. And we have proof that it's true. That, after 70 and 80, we can still be physically fit. We have here our wonderful Edith Murray trainer, who at the age of 91 decided to do weightlifting. Well, as you can see, she's doing deadlifts here. And then in 2022, at the age of 100, she got the Guinness World Record for the oldest weightlifter in the world. So there's no age for physical activity whenever we want to do something. So she's the most beautiful example that we can find. We also have our Captain Tom Moore. I don't know if anybody remembers him. He was all over the news during the pandemic. He's a World War II veteran. And what he wanted to do before he turned 100, he had 24 days to do that. And he wanted to raise 1,000 British pounds by walking 100 laps in his garden. I don't know if some of you, I saw some heads shaking when we remember him. Yeah, so he became a global sensation. He was all over the news, all over the world. And not only he raised his 1,000 pounds, he raised over 30 million pounds, British pounds, which is about $55 million Canadian, which, it's quite high. And he gave this donated to 7 different charities that I don't have the name right now. But so so he took this situation, this difficult, challenging situation, and he turned it around, got physical, and also created something quite amazing, truly remarkable. So good on him, good on Captain. Here we have psychological well-being. So this is our third point. Well, very important, right? Some people have already talked about that. To be intellectually, stimulated, our mental stimulation. We could be playing cards, playing board games. There's also like reading and learning. Learning is really important. Learning new things can help challenge the brain, which will create new neural connections. Really important. Like learning a new language. We have one of our participants, Lucien, that comes to some of our workshop. He's 94 years old. But at the time, he was 94 years old and decided to learn a new language, but not any language. He decided to learn Arabic. I don't know anything about Arabic language, but I'm pretty sure it's not an easy language to learn. I speak French and English, and I can, barely can speak Spanish. So I could see, Arabic would be quite a tough language to learn. So good on him. At 94 years old, he decided to do that. So regular, mental stimulation is very beneficial for our well-being, for our mind, for our physical well-being as well, right? And apparently it lowers the risk of developing dementia, which, so if we can slow this down, that would be wonderful if this is something that we're at risk. And lastly, we have spiritual well-being. Well, there's many forms of spirituality. It doesn't have to be with religion. It can be through yoga, could be through meditation, prayers, and self-compassion, right? But meditation, I practice meditation every day. I do 10 minutes to 30 minutes a day, depending on how much time I have. But, it has been proven that it boosts our immune system and it reduces the level of cortisol, which is known as the stress hormone. So yes, so sometimes I'm really stressed. So I like to meditate, like before doing a workshop like today, I like to meditate a little bit. Just brings me, calms me down a little bit. And and not only that it helps us to be in a better spiritual state, but also in a more hopeful and more positive, gives us a more hopeful and positive outlook on life as well. Okay, now we've looked at all the 4 pillars. We're going to do a short exercise together. Yes, so being in nature can be great. Absolutely. Yes. And yoga. Excellent. Great. So now what I'm going to ask you to do in your workbook on page 4, you're going to be taking each pillars, and you're going to write down 3 ways or activities that will enhance your life moving forward. And then after that, you're going to answer how you will integrate this into your daily routine. We talked about routine, right? So really important to have a routine in place, even after, especially in retirement. Right. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do this. So 3 ways and activities to enhance for each and every one and how you will integrate that.
Should have got music ready. I should have got music ready.
Yeah. Do we have singers here? Maybe someone can sing.
I was like, oh, I should have lined up some like elevator music.
Yeah.
for the
Oh, that's too bad.
exercises.
We didn't think about this. Yeah.
One coffee this morning, it wasn't enough.
Well, the next exercise, there'll be about 5 minutes break if you want to find music. That would be
Okay.
great.
All right.
Yeah.
Brendan can play the piano.
Perfect. Okay, just a few more seconds. If you don't have time to complete today, you can, or during the session, you can do it later as well. Okay, so who would like to share one way they will increase, they will elevate their social connection? Unmute your microphone if you want to share. See, okay, living older is a privilege as long as, yeah, absolutely. Great, so yeah. So what is one way that someone would like to share for social connections? Anyone?
So I guess I'll go.
Okay, great.
So
Yeah.
I'm far from, retiring. But I guess with social connections is that you could kind of do the things that you want to do and maybe find a kind of, how everyone says, a tribe. So by doing the things that you want to do, you'll meet people who are like-minded, and you can sort of switch, if you will, like the reframing of your social connections in a way.
And how can you do that right now in your life? To start, it's a good way.
Me right now? Well, see,
Yeah.
this is what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, it's about planting small seeds, right now. So that's, yeah. So we have, sorry, I don't get your name, from person from Thetford Mines, the MCDAC. Forget your name.
Yeah,
Lori.
it's Lori.
Lori, please.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi. Well, one way to actually maintain social connections for me would be just to continue to participate. We have a community organization in this area, and they do a lot of really great activities and so on. So I'm actually looking forward to time when I can participate in some of those activities as a participant, as opposed to working kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So seeing that as a way to maintaining connections.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Here it says join a walking group, volunteering. Of course, these are all great ways. And also there's this great app online that in this group called Meetup. And I think it's so wonderful. I have so many of my clients, they join this group called Meetup. And so they do all different kind of activities. I had one of my clients, she wanted to learn English and she loved jogging. So she joined that group, the Meetup group. They will go jogging and speak English. And I thought, wow, this is such an amazing way to connect with new people and, to explore a little bit our network. Yes, I think always, yeah, it depends on the physical health, of course. Of course, it depends on our physical health. And physical well-being. So what is one way, who would like to share one way they will apply moving forward in this journey for physical well-being? Gina.
So I decided to become a VIA active instructor, and it forces me to give classes twice a week and to meet other people and to plan these, to keep my mind going, to plan the classes. And I think that's a great thing that I've done.
Wonderful, wonderful. And not only the physical well-being, but you're also including social connections in that, right? So they all kind of intertwine together. They all kind of work together. Yeah, excellent. Zena.
Well, I've joined online classes for exercising, so that's one of the ways that I maintain physical activities. So
wonderful, wonderful, excellent. Anybody else?
Yes, Maureen here,
Maureen.
Thetford also. I'd like to try my hand at golf. I've always wanted to try it. I'm already very active physically anyways, but it's a sport. I like sports a lot, so it's something that a person can do on their own, basically, in terms of even if you go learn it, learn the basics of golf.
Yes.
And we have an easy, accessible golf course here in Thetford Mines. So it wouldn't be too difficult to do. Just have to make my mind up to do it.
Excellent. Yeah. And also uses your intellect, right? Yeah.
I
Concentration.
think so. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could use
absolutely.
that too. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Thank you. We have Brenda here that says Zumba and he uses the brain as well. Yeah, for coordination, right? You have to use the brain for that. Definitely. Take tennis courses. Yes, wonderful. Great. All great ways to increase, and to use all those 4 pillars. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Because navigating through retirement, with confidence, it needs careful planning and solid preparation. And this is partly what you're doing today. So you're bringing all the pillars, you're applying those 4 pillars into navigating through this journey that, we could live decades in our retirement. So 10, 20, 30, and even 40 years in retirement. So we need good planning and we need to have great healthy habits that are already in place. Because there are going to be some detours along the way, some bumps, right? We all know this. So when we're prepared for the unexpected, when we're taking care of the 4 pillars, the 4 of taking care of ourselves, it helps us navigate better through this journey. And we talked about, I just talked about creating some healthy habits. Well, healthy habits, it was, I don't know if you want, yes, what Wayne Dyer says, healthy habits are learned in the same way as unhealthy ones. Through practice. So this is so true. So true. So true. Yes, and like I said, healthy habits is a crucial part of navigating retirement, but also what are we going to need in retirement? So this is what we're going to be looking at. So other than money, what do you think you need in retirement or you will need once you get into retirement? Please share in the chat or raise your hand or unmute. Yes, Maureen.
You're asking me?
Oh yes. Oh, because
No.
because you're everyone.
Because I'm rolling my eyes. It's a good question. It's a good question. I wish I knew. What do you need? I certainly need a purpose in life. Like we talked about that
Yes.
reason for getting up in the morning. At least when you're working, it's an automatic. But you have to find something, whatever. But that's what we're doing today. Things
Yeah.
that are going to get us up out of bed and make us feel fulfilled and important.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. We have here stay focused and determined. Excellent. What do you mean by that, Zena?
Okay, so what I mean by that is that I think that in order to achieve your goal, you need to like have a plan and stay focused and be determined to achieve that plan. So that's why I mentioned that stay focused and determined and disciplined as well.
Discipline, yeah. Discipline's good. Excellent. Yes. Because when our needs are clear, they become the driving force. And also it motivates us to take the right action to achieve the goals that we want to achieve as well. But when our needs are unfulfilled, then what happens, you need? Yeah, what do you think happens once our needs are not being fulfilled?
I think for the most part, we become demotivated.
Yeah. Yeah. Motivation. What else?
I think we possibly lose some self-esteem.
Self-esteem, absolutely. Yeah. Self-sabotage,
Yeah.
self-sabotage thoughts that we have that as well. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, what happens is that it creates a lack of harmony with everything, and it puts us completely out of balance. On page 5 of your workbook, we talk about some basic human needs. There's a lot more than what we put on there. The ones on the screen right now are just some of the basic human needs that we're going to be using for it as an example for the exercise that we're going to be doing, that you'll be able to use as well if you'd like, for the purpose of this next exercise. So I have a quick question for you. So do you think there's a magic formula for a perfect life balance? I see some head shaking. No. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
Sorry, Gina is saying that nothing is on the screen.
No, it's on the screen.
Oh, okay.
It is, yeah.
Not for me.
Uh-oh.
Maybe Gina, did your well, maybe leave the meeting and come back in. Maybe that will kind of re-trigger it.
Okay.
And we'll let you back in, Gina.
Yeah, Lori, if you would like to answer, do you have a magic formula for us?
I don't. I do find I like the idea of living in balance and harmony, but it just seems so elusive. It just seems so kind of one step away from, from where we're at, kind of thing. So yeah, it's I'd love to learn more about, how do you live, how do you feel balanced?
Yeah, and it says it's personal for each and every one of us. Absolutely. Well, there's no magic formula. Sorry to.
Oh,
Stefan, you are on mute somehow.
Okay. All right. Here I am. Oops. Okay, here I am. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
I'm good. Can you hear all of me?
Yeah,
All right.
you're
Yeah,
good.
technical issues. Yeah. So yes, I mean, there is no magic formula, unfortunately. So sorry to to be a downer here this morning, because life is constantly changing. And sometimes we're putting our attention on one important aspect of our lives. So that's taking our energy away from the other important things in our life. So what happens is that it starts creating an imbalancement, and that's normal. That's normal, because we can't work on everything all the time at the same time. And so that's why we have this exercise that we're going to be doing. It's the Wheel of Balance. It's a unique and very simple model that will help us have a bigger picture of what we need and how well these needs are being met. So using the wheel in your workbook on page 6, and as shown here, we're going to put in each of the section, you're going to put the 8 areas of your life that are most important for you. And for the purpose of the exercise here, you can use those if you'd like, but you can find your own as well. Physical well-being, relationship and love, home and family, fun, hobbies, and travel, learning, personal development, social activities, achievement and success, and spirituality. Excellent. So now in your workbook on page 6, you're going to enter, going clockwise, you're going to enter each of the most important areas of your life that, that you feel are important for balance in your life, that will bring some balance in your life. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do that as well. And you can use the examples on page 5 as examples as well. And also the pillar exercise, you might have put something in there as well that can be helpful for this exercise. So I don't know if we have the music or not. Katia, do we have? No. Okay.
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
No, I was going to do it, and then I thought, I got to share the audio, and then.
All right. So sing us a ballad.
Brendan's gonna give me daggers.
No daggers. You can try if you want. I'm not sure how the music's gonna come through.
But Stefan, just to make sure, for each slice on
Yeah.
the wheel,
Yeah.
for each section, people have to put a scale of 0 to 10, right?
No, not yet. We're not there yet.
Okay.
No, we're not there yet. We're just putting in the on the wheel the 8 elements that are most important for us to find balance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll evaluate later.
I'm gonna try playing music through my phone and see.
Let's give it a shot.
Can you hear it?
Zoom might filter it out. You might need to change your
I know.
settings. Right now, we don't hear anything.
Okay.
But if you want to try to go into your Zoom settings,
Yeah.
under audio settings, there is something called, where is it? Find it on mine.
Because it's the screen sharing thing.
No, it's not the screen sharing thing.
Okay.
You have to select something called original sound for musicians.
Whoa, never knew that. Okay, hold on. Okay, let's see.
But that's not the last step.
Oh, go for it.
Once you select that,
Yeah.
in your Zoom interface at the top right,
Yeah.
it's gonna say something about like musician audio for musician on or off, and you need to click that to turn it on further. And then we should be able to hear your music.
And then do I have to switch it off after I share the music so it's back to normal?
Yes, because when you turn it on, a lot of the background noises that are being eliminated,
Got
you
it.
can hear, like we hear a little bit of the street noise around you when you turn it on,
Okay, hold on.
and then you'll turn it on. Now we hear the music, yeah.
Happy days. I'm all about birds, folks. Sorry.
It's okay. We can all get into a nice Zen relaxation.
I mean, you know.
Well, we can do a meditation session. Okay, so a few more seconds. Okay, so excellent. So yes, not an easy exercise to do, right? Some people, I could see some people having a little bit more difficulty finding different things, to find balance. The exercise can be continued later on, if that is, you need more time to think about the areas that are most important to you. So what we're going to be doing now, we're going to evaluate each of these sections, going clockwise. We're going to evaluate using a scale from 0 to 10. 0 would be your lowest level of satisfaction for that one area, and a 10 would be your highest level of satisfaction. I always leave myself, a little space, like a 9 if I think I'm doing pretty good in that area. Just, there's always improvement, right? So I never give myself a 10, but it's really up to each and every one of you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is enter your score for each and every one of them. A 0 will be placed right in the center, like shown here. A 5 would be right in the middle of the section, and a 10 would be at the top of the circle. So go ahead and enter your scores. Like, how satisfied are you with that one area of your life? So go ahead and do for all 8 sections. Okay, so now that you've entered your scores, what I would like for you to do is going clockwise, starting from the top, going going to the side of the clock, and you're going to connect the dots, like shown here. Okay, so as you can see, this wheel here, well, it's not, turning smoothly. A few bumps along the way, right? So how is your wheel turning? Who would like to show us on their screen? Show us on your screen. Okay, yes, yes. Thank you, Ruth. Anybody else wants to show on the screen? Okay, yeah, so we have all different types of shapes. Maureen, may I see? It's hard because you have a background. I can't see. Okay, so what are you observing when you're looking at your wheel? He would like to share that.
I hate to exercise.
I'm sorry, you don't like the exercise?
No,
Okay.
and I feel guilty about it, and I feel like a failure about it. I have a great life. Everything else is like top notch. But the exercise, I don't know why I can't get myself to walk
Mm,
around the block even. It's like torture for me. And I tried, yoga, and I try different things. I hate it all. I hate it
mm,
all. The only
yeah,
time I do physical activity is when I'm traveling.
okay.
And I guess it's because I'm motivated to get from point A to point B.
Mm,
But when I'm home, I like it, I hate it so much.
yeah, yeah. Well, you brought something really important. You said when I'm traveling, I enjoy doing the exercise. So I think with something we'll enjoy less, maybe including an activity that we enjoy doing. So that will, gives us a little bit more motivation to do it, right? Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. Anybody else? What are you noticing on your wheel?
The one thing I noticed is I wanted to do more with intellectual learning.
Okay.
But I rated it very low because I don't feel I've been successful at all. And I think some of that might be due to the distance I would have to go in which to learn it. I'm not the type that can do a course on a screen or on a
Mm,
webinar. I need the interpersonal connection and exchange of ideas.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The other things that I felt were important to me, they're pretty well, one's a 7, 3 are an 8, and 2 are a 2 or 3 are a 9.
Okay,
So,
well, beautiful.
but I still always think there's much more room for improvement. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this right.
Oh, I'm sure it's perfect just the way you did it. It's perfect just the way you did it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Ruth. Uh, Casey?
No,
Oh, the one with
it's
the
it's Case. I think it's Gina, I think.
oh, Gina. Okay, sorry.
Sure, I'd be happy to share.
Please.
I feel like my life's in a really good place. Maybe it's because I've been retired for 10 years and taking on new contracts and challenging myself and doing all kinds of things. Mine are placed 8, 9, and 10. So I'm in a
Wow.
really, really good place in my retirement.
Excellent. I love to see that. I love to hear that as well. So there is, yeah, it's possible. Great. So I would like for you to answer the 3 questions below the wheel. So the first question I would like for you to answer is which area would you like to put your attention on right now in your life? And then name 3 actions that you can do, that you can take that will increase your level of satisfaction for that one area. And then the third question, how and when will you start doing so? Put a date, put a date or a time. Okay, so who would like to share the one area that they want to put their attention on right now? Could be in the chat, could be unmute yourself, raise your hand. Zena.
Okay, so mine is probably just a little bit more different because I'm not retired yet. I am planning to retire within a few years. So my plan is for financial freedom. So
Okay.
I'm working towards that. So in order for me to achieve that would be like to just continue working. But like I've been in very, very stressful jobs before with a lot of added pressures. So I think I want to get away from that,
Mhm.
all of that pressure and just focus on what I really enjoy to do with the less like a less stressful job. So I'm working towards maybe finding work that will that I'll be content in. And so just continue to work so I can be able to find, you know, when I do retire, I'll be able to like be in a good place financially.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Ruth is saying physical activities. Great, Ruth. What actions are you going to put in place, Ruth?
Sorry, my mouse is frozen on me. Well, I have some limitations, so I would say it has to be finding a good indoor exercise. So that would probably have to be on Zoom with a group leading me. And I do, because I've had joints replaced, I do have some indoor exercise that I can do and chair exercises. And I have to be honest, I've just put it on the back burner. Yet
Yeah.
I used to be a tomboy and very active, and I've got to get back into it. I've been self-sabotaging myself.
Yeah, yeah. And what would be the motivation for you to create that change in your life?
I would have more independence and be able to do more outdoor things and go to places without always having to judge, can I make it? Can I get there? Will I have sufficient stamina?
Yeah.
Just the simple independence psychologically, physically, mentally, and also I know it's better for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Physical activity, if we have grandkids, sometimes we want to spend more time with them. And if we're physically limited, then, it limits ourselves. So that would be a great motivation as well for some people. Yes.
That's
The
very true, because I have grandchildren that are 40 and in
Oh,
their
yeah.
30s, but
Yeah.
I've got two little great grandsons who are 5 and 7. There's no way I can get down on the floor and run through the fields like I used to with the
Yeah.
others.
Yeah, but you mentioned like activities on a chair. There's yoga, yoga on chair. There's many different activities that will help, definitely help you. So thank you, Ruth. Thank you. Here we have, the one with the hand raised.
That would be Gina.
Gina, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'll just lower my hand. So there's one thing that I put in my wheel of balance that I didn't see there, and it's called self-care, meaning spoiling myself a little bit because I'm so scheduled and booked. I made so many daily plans, monthly plans, weekly plans. I do all these things and I'm all satisfied with that. But then when I get home, I do need to take time to like do a facial, have a pedicure, just spoil myself a little bit. And I think we forget to give ourselves self-care.
Yeah. And when we do give ourselves, I always say if my glass is not overflowing, I have nothing to give, right? So it's about filling the glass and having the glass overflowing. So you'll have a lot more to give to everyone. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else would like to share? Okay, well, Great. I hope you enjoyed this exercise. It's a good exercise to do again in the next few months, you know. So, but at the end of the day, it's about making a decision, to implement some concrete actions that will make a difference in our everyday life moving forward. And you know, the goal of this exercise is not just after we're done here, is to put it at the bottom of your drawer in the back of your closet, is keep it where you can see it. Keep your wheel visible so that it reminds you of what you need to do and what actions you need to put in place so that you can feel more satisfied in certain areas of your life. Redo the wheel in a couple months from now. On the same wheel, just use a different marker to see how things have changed and evaluate, you know, where your attention needs to go now. So it's an exercise that can be used, you know, throughout the rest of our lives, because it's a great tool to really evaluate where we're standing in life. So thank you. This is the end of this exercise. I'm gonna let Ren, and I think we still have a few more minutes for the Q&A as well. I'll let Ren. I think she wants to say a few words, and we'll answer all the questions you may have as well.
Of course, I do want to say a few words.
Yes.
I just want to come back. I just want to come back to a couple of things because you're right. This exercise is not that easy. Deidre, for example, you said you hate exercising no matter what you do. Did you actually put physical activity exercise in your wheel?
I did. It's easy to put it in the wheel. It's hard to go and do it. Like, for example, I just went to let the dog out, and my first thought was, oh, it's too cold to go for a walk. That's just like first thing went in my head.
Yeah. No, and I'm not singling you out, but the point really is if we put this on our wheel, as Stéphane said, it's because it's important to us.
It is.
The thing is, there is no free pass, right? We have to put in the effort if we want to continue going and so on. And to speak to Lorraine as well. Lorraine, you're saying, yeah, physical activity, but I like good house chores because I love how it does. By the way, again, science has found that 10 minutes of, you know, rapid chores in the house is worth 20 minutes of walking. So anything we can find, the idea is to not let go, right? I don't know, Deidre, I'm like you, a bit of a, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. The weather's going to be nicer. Oh, and so on. Now I'm at the point where I'm thinking, I have to get a dog or I'll never go out to walk, right? So anyway, whatever we can do, it is a big effort, but that's what we face. In any case, really, you know where that word retirement came from. You probably know hundreds of years ago it's existed. It comes from the French, from the war, battre en retraite. Battre en retraite means retreating. Right? Okay, the enemy is too close. Now we need to retreat. And that's where that word comes from. I would hope somebody would change the word, but at the end of the day, is it a word that's important? What's important is that we are not retiring from any danger. We've made a choice to live, and Canadians are going to live decades. Stats Canada says up to 30 years in retirement. So what we're trying to do is demystify this whole thing that society has to put it in some rules because we are retired. That's what we're hoping to do today. And your participation and your sharing has been very powerful. So please pass on the word. Retirement is a choice. We do what we want, and we just work hard, still putting effort into making our lives what we want it to be. So talk to people around you and tell them, you know, that retirement is exactly what you want it to be. So again, thank you so much for coming. You have this in your workbooks. Please stay connected. If you have more questions, you have our emails, you have our website page, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything you might need in here. We do webinars, free webinars. So if you want to stay in touch, we can send you the times we do some webinars here and there. Not all free, but still, we will let you know. On our website, we have a startup kit, a retirement startup kit. It's a little bit like your workbook, but different. So you want to go and download that if you wish. And also, we have a retreat. We have at Spa Eastman, if you know Spa Eastman in the Eastern Township. Yeah, from October 2nd to 5th, you can just go on their website and have a look at that. And yeah, we hope to see you again very time soon. I'm just going to let it open for questions now, right, Katya?
Yeah, pretty much. If anyone has any questions, don't be shy. Just turn your mics off and go ahead and ask them, and we'll just chat for however long this flows.
Yeah. I like what Gaetan said here. Retraite
Yeah.
also means traiter sa vie différent, treat your life differently. It's so true. Excellent. I love this. I love this. Yeah, thank you.
I was just wondering, one thing that we didn't touch upon, we did far off was, the self-sabotaging on the back burner, putting things off, adjusting, grieving process. What if somebody is really in an extreme rut and, there's a certain age bracket that it wasn't the norm to go to a psychologist and talk it out and get some professional help and try to understand what are your triggers, what is causing you to feel that way or put things off. Is there any value? Do you see that in your cases or your travels that there are people that do have to resort to that kind of help?
Do you want me to answer?
Sure,
Yeah?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to stop sharing or
I just did that for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. There are people who actually should. I'm a firm believer that everybody should be born with a psychologist attached to them. But you're right. Not everybody thinks that way. You know, when we talk about why do I wake up in the morning, uh, we've known people, I've known people who have spent a week in bed, two. That's when I would say, okay, let's drag this person out. They need professional help. There's all sorts of professional help. There's lots of coaches. Stefan is a certified coach, psychologists for sure, but also communities. The biggest problem in Canada for seniors, again, that's in Stats Canada, is isolation.
Yeah.
And isolation kills. It really does. And that's a Harvard study that said that
And it's to find them. Where are they? Because
because they don't come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. So our hope is that family and friends can maybe push some of these people to do come out. But the work that you guys do with volunteering and in the community, it's amazing for that particular reason. And some people hide it very well.
Yeah.
Highly functional depression is a real thing.
I have someone in my family that took retirement at 54 and financially can do it. But life only had the one child, which is an adult now, so independent. And figured, life is going to be hunky-dory now for the next 30 years, please God, maybe longer. And has found out it's just not what she was expecting.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important, once we get into those phases of retirement, it's not to do this alone. And, that's what I said at the beginning. And that's why there's a lot of different programs and organization, like this organization. I think it's an amazing organization that offers all these workshops and things and tools to support this journey, because it's not always on it's not always linear, right? So it changes. There's bumps along the way, and that's why you know, a lot of my clients, they come to me for personalized coaching. I think it's a great way to overcome some of those challenges and use, you know, use our own personal strengths and skills that we've developed throughout the years, and these are not lost. And that's one thing that, you know, what happens in retirement, people say, well, I don't have that identity anymore. We didn't touch identity today because it's another topic that we usually touch with some of our workshops as well, because that is part of who we are, is what we've done
we
all
are,
our lives.
and
right?
we're
We
in another
identify
path that we've
a
never
lot with that.
experienced.
So once
Yeah.
that's gone, then who am I, right? So there's a workshop just on that we do. So I don't know, maybe Katia, we're gonna plug it
I
in.
found this
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a whole like you know, I do an exercise that I created with called the ID blueprint. So we go through different stages of our lives to find the thread of who we are, because we kind of lose that because of life, you know, circumstances, because of, you know, obligations or some in somewhat, right? And so we kind of lose touch with those things that are really that makes a difference for us moving forward. And it's about reconnecting with that part of ourselves that we kind of pushed aside. And so there's a great exercise that we do just with that. And I think it's such an amazing exercise. And it's a fun exercise to do. You go back through memory lane and remember all these beautiful things that we've done. And that's what, you know, that's what's important. It's not just you know, the falls that we had. It's what we've done that, you know, made us who we are today as well, right? So it's about looking at all of that. And so we do it in a workshop and a portion of the exercise, but when I do it one-on-one, we go very deep into all of these stages of life and to find that thread of the person, right? So
Yeah, yeah. Deidre is asking, what is the Spa Eastman event? It's actually called Flexibilité de corps et d'esprit pour une retraite réussie. So it's about flexibility of mind and body. We've partnered with a gym in the Eastern Township. And so she's doing yoga, nutrition, things to help us move actually and be more flexible. And Stefan and I are more into flexibility of mind, which is a mindset. How do I change my mindset? Sometimes that's what we need, right? That little kick in the bum that I was talking about. It's a bit of a change of how I think, because we have a lifetime of thinking that way. We have been conditioned with a lot of ways of thinking. Society is dictating a lot of how we should be thinking, right? And what we should be doing. So to change a little bit that mindset, that attitude, so that's basically what the retreat is going to be about, 5th of October. I also want to read something because I don't know, Gina, the messages are coming just to me, but she said, I once heard retirement is the magical time when you swap deadlines for nap time and morning coffees. I love it too. And another thing that I'm reading here is we wake up if we have passions and things to look forward to. Yes, we need to have things to look forward to, but I just want to tell you something personal. When I was kicked out of my job, when I lost my job after many, 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 many years in a company and got into a rut, I wasn't sure why I would wake up in the morning anymore. And a lot of people were telling me exactly this. Oh, all you need to do is find your passion, and you know, you're going to find a job, you're going to make it in a hobby, maybe you can have a company and sell. And I must say, I started feeling like that's all BS. A lot of people don't necessarily know what their passions are. And I it's not just, but you're absolutely, we need to have something to look forward to. And to look forward to something, sometimes it's that practice, believe it or not. 5 minutes a day, take a pause, right? They say that it's all you need. 5 minutes a day. Breathe, take a pause, and just reflect. What's happening around me that make me happy? What can I do? Write things down. just a little bit at a time. Because, yeah, and if you find your passions, it's fantastic. And I feel that along the way, that's what you end up finding, what your passions are, right? And help you wake up. So I go on a crusade sometimes to think that society is telling us crazy things. So thank you for being on the crusade with us, because
So some people are asking, the retreat will be in French. Yeah, it is in French for this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do it in English as well down the road.
Yeah, for sure.
And also in the retreat, we talk about vision, right? So Reine talked about, not finding passion right away as soon as, you lose your job. I mean, you're not going to be connected to your passion right away. So there's a process. So we talk in the workshop, we'll be talking about vision as well, and how we can apply, with our identity and the vision, and how we can apply both together moving forward. It's a combination of many different things that we put together so that we can better advance and move forward, and so that we can still enjoy life as much as possible. And retirement is, we're retreating, we talked about retreating ourselves. We're not retreating at all. We're moving forward into this new book. It's not even a chapter anymore. It's a new book. And 30, 40 years in retirement, let's make this part of our life the best part of our lives, right? So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on that note, that's like the perfect ending, Stefan. So I'm happy this kind of experimental webinar that we did today. I think it's gone down well. So I had a feeling it would. So I'm actually, oh, thank you, Brendan. I'm really pleased. I'm pleased as punch right now. Brendan's gonna put a survey link in the chat, and I would really appreciate it if you could fill it out for us, please, because this is information. Thank you, Brendan. It's information that our funders like to receive. So when it comes to doing our reports, it's good to have these data markers. So gros merci, Ren and Stefan. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for taking the time and for getting, I guess, a conversation going that a lot of people just don't kind of talk about or think about. And as you said, it's one of these key moments in life, right? Like going to school, getting your first job, getting married if you want, having children if you want, then working and establishing a career, and then that next phase that no one really talks about. So I'm happy we got the conversation going. Thank you again. Thank you to all of you for joining. And as I said at the beginning, this is our last webinar for the 24-25 financial year. So we made it through another financial year. So big thank you to Brendan Mirachnik and Ruth Peltier, who since September, every Tuesday, we meet monthly and hang out with everyone and have these webinars. So thank you to you both. Thank you to Ren, and thank you to Stefan. And once again, thank you to our funder, the Department of Canadian Heritage. And thank you all. So keep tabs on our newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, I'll put it in the email that I'll send out with the recording of this webinar. And then keep tabs on us, because we're going to be working behind the scenes getting our webinars ready for the 25-26 financial year, which should start September-ish. So stay tuned. More details will come your way. Thank you for SurveyMonkey came in. Amazing. And thank you all. Go and have lunch, and we'll see you all in September.
Just before everybody goes, thank you, Katya, because you're the one that organizes it behind the scenes with Brendan. And without your thinking ahead, we wouldn't have these.
Well, it's a team effort, Ruth. You know, I don't do well with compliments, but thank you, Ruth. It's a team effort. It really is. So thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great summer.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, you too.